from Studio 5. Vern Troy's with us. Yes, he is. Do you see him?
Deben!
Legend. OK, well, something that has got us all talking today is children's stories. They used to have happy endings, didn't they? But some people say that they're getting too scary, and that could be bad for our kids. Jason has been finding out more. Take a look at this.
Felicity flicked her wand and gave Cinderella a dress even more beautiful than the one she'd worn to the ball.
Gasped.
It was the prince.
Oh my goodness, Cinderella and the prince twirled.
We read them stories about fairies, magic and princesses. But what happens when our children start reading for themselves?
But his father seems to be screaming as he tries to shake the thing off, its leaves piercing his hand and threading straight through the flesh of his palm and wrist, bruising and bursting open and becoming smeared with blood as they twist.
There's concern some children's literature is becoming too dark.
Tighter and tighter into his forearm.
This story, Tunnels, is the latest controversial children's novel. It's also about to be made into a film. In it, a child is tortured, a key character murdered, and happy endings are replaced by obscure, dark uncertainty. Meet the author.
They were so close to him now, close enough that he could smell their collective stench and the foul reek of their collective hatred. Filth, filth, filth.
Knowing children are going to read it, was there anything you felt uncomfortable about putting in the book?
Oh, yes, on many occasions, and Brian and I talked about it and we toned it down, and then Mary Cunningham and our publishers got involved as well. But I think the fact that a young character dies at the end of the second book, I mean, that happened to me in real life. I was 9 years old and one of my closest friends got very ill and died. So we're only really reflecting what goes on in normal life anyway.
Do you think young people can't be protected from the realism of modern-day life?
Not really, no. I mean, it's going to happen whether the parents like it or not. They're going to be these sort of outside events and influences.
But is there an impact on children's well-being if they read darker material?
I think when it opens up real worlds, worlds of poverty, of loss of a parent, of ill-treatment, of abuse, that the child knows that for some children is a real world. And I think if it ends up with an even more downbeat point, as if their life wasn't bad enough, but actually gets worse, when the child walks away, they walk away with a feeling there is a world, it's a horrible world. And I think that's quite disconcerting.
In my life, I've seen things that are truly horrific.
In J.K. Rowling's famous Harry Potter books, lead characters get killed, but the underlying theme hinges on an unshakable belief that love is stronger than death. However gloomy things are on the surface, in children's literature there's nearly always a positive message running through the heart of it. But should children be allowed to have a bit of gritty realism in their reading diet?
I don't think it's necessary at a young age, and I think it scares children. They have nightmares and they can't go to sleep. They think about it too much.
Kira, what do you think? Do the books scare you that you read?
Yes, a lot. They make me have nightmares, and I have to go up to Mummy's room. Mostly about giant spiders.
But like so many things we tell our children, the idea that they all lived happily ever after isn't going to be believed forever.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, I mean, children's stories are very important, and the sort of the dark themes have kind of always run through them. You've only got to think of like Hans Christian Andersen. You know, he had some that really sort of quite disturbing fairy tales. But
I know Hansel and Gretel, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, that's
that
one of
was
those.
Quite frightening.
Yeah, I mean, children being abandoned. But the point is,
it was a happy ending.
There was a happy ending, and also, you know, you read that to a child when they are developmentally ready for it, and it implants a kind of message in their psyche that, you know, that there's a story that it goes somewhere, and you know, and absolutely they'll learn something positive from it in the end. Whereas in these stories, if they're not getting it, and if there is no happy ending, then that would be quite disturbing, and I don't think that is suitable. I mean, I wouldn't read one of those to my children. They're 9, 7 and 5. They would get nightmares.
With books for children and that, it's why they're children. They should have make-believe world and happy ending and all that sort of stuff. You know, why does it have to be so dark?
A bit of reality.
But Harry Potter's quite dark.
It is, but that I think is okay, and a bit of reality is important. For example, take just like The Ugly Duckling. You know, that you think, well, that's not a very sad story, but it's about little duckling. He's rejected by his mother. He's rejected by his community. Everybody hates him. You know, he's completely isolated. But then he turns into a beautiful swan. He finds his own kind, and everything is okay. You know, and that is quite an important story for a child, because some children may experience that in their childhood, but you know, and they can learn from that actually eventually I'll find my own kind and everything will be fine. So it can be really powerful from that point of view.
Happy endings away forward.
I used to be a little bookworm when I was a kid.
Like
I loved reading Roald Dahl, and at the time people used to say that was a bit dark, and I remember my little brother would kill me for saying this. We had nightmares about the witches, and that then was quite a scary story, and that's nothing on what they were reading out on there.
Funny enough, I started reading that to Morgan a couple of years ago, and he couldn't handle it, and I thought, right, okay, he's not ready for this yet.
It's not a patch on that, though, is it? I mean, that's
when I was young, I read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and the bit where the witch was killing Aslan.
The lion.
Yeah, it was really horrible.
You look really troubled on that.
That kind of got me for a bit.
We won't upset Ian anymore.
No, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of blighting.
But that was, you know, it was a happy ending.
But it worked out okay in the end. That's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, can we move on?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, the other day we were